Chapter 13. The Calm Before the Storm. As we pulled into the parking lot from our week in Hawaii, I laughed out loud.
"What is it?"
Henry asked. "Well, I guess we better decide whose apartment we are going to live in. It makes no sense to keep both." He smiled.
"Actually, I thought we'd look at a house."
"Really?" An image of a wraparound front porch and a white picket fence jumped into my mind.
"Of course. Apartments aren't great for kids. I want to have a big yard so the kids will have lots of room to run. And maybe a pool."
His eyes lit up as he was speaking, and I smiled back, hoping it would come true. Somewhere in the back of my mind, though, I worried that I had ruined my chance of having kids. I knew from attending church that God did not condone abortion. What if my punishment was to never get pregnant again? That sounds lovely. I can't wait.
"For now, let's stay in yours. I have fewer clothes I would have to move."
He laughed. We each grabbed a stack of presents and carried them inside. After setting them on the table, Henry went back out for the rest of the gifts and our suitcases, and I took the moment to glance around the apartment. I didn't have any bottles still lying out, did I? I was pretty sure I had thrown away the last bottle when I had finished it. Henry returned, and we stared at the mountain of gifts flowing off the table. "I guess we better get started," I said, grabbing a notepad to keep a list of what was given by whom so I could send thank you notes later. We sat on the couch and took turns opening the gifts. Most of them were things we could use, like towels and matching plates, but a few oddball gifts made their way into the stack. "Does anybody actually use these?" I asked, holding up an ugly gravy boat with a weird blue symbol on the side.
"No one ever did in my house," he agreed, smiling. "But then, we didn't eat a lot of gravy."
After finishing the gifts, we retired for the night. The jet lag was kicking in, and we both had work in the morning. As I curled into Henry's arms in bed that night, I thought again about how perfect everything seemed. Rising for work after being off for a week proved no easy task, and Raquel cornered me as soon as I got in to let me know she had set a date. I plastered a smile on my face and congratulated her, but I wondered if Greg would end up like Philip and so many other guys she had dated. I invited her to church with us again, but like always, she declined. I wasn't sure how much I should push her, especially since I wasn't sure on my own status with God. So I let the topic go and just enjoyed her company for the rest of the day. But I was really looking forward to going back home to Henry's arms. I had always loved intimacy, until the procedure, anyway, but there was something much more special about being intimate with a spouse. No fear existed of him seeing someone else another night. No worry loomed about picking up some unknown disease or getting pregnant out of wedlock. In fact, I wrestled with the desire of wanting a baby now. On one hand, I really wanted children with Henry. I wanted them to fill the yard we didn't have yet and hear them laughing. But then I would remember how I threw my first child's life away, and I would wonder if I really deserved more children. How could I love them when I couldn't love that first baby enough to fight for him? When I got home that evening, Henry stood waiting just inside the door, keys in hand.
"Are you ready?"
he asked. My forehead wrinkled, and I tilted my head. Ready for what, exactly? His eyes gleamed as a steady smile spread across his face.
"Ready to see a house? I talked with an agent today, and it sounds like everything we want. It just came on the market, and he can meet us in 15 minutes. Want to go?"
I had never seen him so excited. He was nearly bouncing up and down. "Let me just change clothes," I said, and hurried to the bedroom to pull on some jeans. "So where is this house?" I asked as we drove.
"You'll see."
Henry tapped his fingers on the steering wheel and hummed. A contagious smile stretched across his face from ear to ear. I found myself smiling and singing along with the music too. The drive wasn't far, just 20 minutes or so to the edge of Mesquite. As he pulled into the driveway, I sucked in my breath. It was like he had read my mind. A white picket fence surrounded the property, and a huge wraparound porch circled the house. The house itself was a light blue with white trim. He parked next to what I assumed was the agent's car, and we got out. The gate squeaked just a little as he pushed it open, so we could walk up the gravel path to the front porch. The door opened as we stepped up to it, and a man I vaguely recognized from church stood on the other side.
Henry, Sandra, you made it. Welcome. Thank you, James, for letting me know about this.
Henry stuck out his hand, and the men shook hands.
You bet. Come on in. So this house is 2,100 square feet, 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms.
Immediately, dollar signs filled my head, and I flashed back to the first wedding dress shopping fiasco. Was I going to fall in love with the house only to find out we couldn't afford it? That's way more house than we need, I said, imagining the payment and trying not to get my hopes up.
Not if we plan to fill it with children,
Henry teased and squeezed my hand. My face flushed hot and James laughed.
Well, this is the living room,
James continued. The beige carpet in the spacious room was in decent shape, but the floral-patterned wallpaper would definitely have to go.
And here's the kitchen.
James led us into a charming beige and blue kitchen with white appliances.
Plenty of room for a large dining table,
Henry said, holding his hands in a square as if picturing it.
And back here is a guest room, or an office, or a playroom for all the kids. And a bathroom,
James continued. The bathroom was small, just a toilet and sink, but it was painted a soft rose which helped offset the size.
And upstairs we have the bedrooms, if you'll follow me.
The staircase had an ornate brown rail, and as my hand trailed up it, I could almost see children sliding down it in the future. The landing opened up to another beige carpeted hallway. The 3 bedrooms were all about the same size and shared the guest bathroom on one end. The master bedroom was situated at the other end, and as James opened the door, my jaw fell. The huge room gaped with space. Plenty of room for a king-sized bed, a dresser, and even a desk and chair if we wanted. To the left, another door opened into a large walk-in closet and a large bathroom with both a shower and a soaking tub.
Here's the best part.
James brought us back into the room and led us to the large window. When he pulled back the curtain, a small balcony that oversaw the backyard appeared. A small swing set and slide were set up, and there was plenty of open grass for kids to run around in. It's perfect, I sighed, but it has to be more than we can afford. It's so much house.
Why don't we go back downstairs and we can talk price?
James suggested. We followed him back to the kitchen, and he laid out some papers on the bar.
Okay, now, generally speaking, this house would go for $120,000, but the owner is a friend of mine, and she specifically said if I found the right family for this house, that she would take $100,000. I know you don't have children yet, but Henry told me about your dream house and his dream of a house full of kids, and I think you guys are that family.
I can't do that math in my head. What does that come out to each month? I held my breath, hoping the answer would be low enough for us to afford.
It's about $500 a month, depending on taxes and your credit, of course.
My heart stopped. He couldn't be serious. A smile broke out across Henry's face.
We can do that, he whispered. We can do that.
I nodded and squeezed his hand. What do you think? He gazed into my eyes, and together we turned to face James. We'll take it. It took a few weeks for all the paperwork to go through, but soon we were moving into our new house. I convinced Henry to take down the hideous wallpaper in the living room, and though he grumbled, he agreed the final result was worth it. We did a few other minor touch-ups, but the house had been pretty move-in ready. Raquel, Greg, and a few other friends from church showed up to help us move. The men did most of the heavy lifting while Raquel and I began unpacking. She rattled on about her upcoming wedding as I put away clothes in the dresser. "Did you hear me?" she asked. "I'm sorry, what?" I turned to face her. "I said, I think I'm pregnant." My heart froze. I knew Raquel well enough to know she probably still wasn't ready to be a mom, but I couldn't believe she would have another abortion and tell me about it, knowing how terrible my experience was. "What are you going to do?" My voice came out barely more than a whisper, and I realized I had twisted the shirt I was holding into a knot. "I don't know," she sighed. "I'm not sure I'm ready to be a mom yet, and besides, I would never fit in my dress." My jaw dropped at her. Was that all she could care about? "But," she continued, seeing my face, "though I didn't have the bad experience you did, I'm not sure I want to have another abortion either. It certainly wasn't the best thing I ever went through, and it can't be good on your body. I don't even know why I'm telling you. I guess I just needed to say it out loud. I haven't told Greg yet." I pursed my lips, trying to think of the right words. Raquel was my friend, and I loved her, but I could no longer condone an abortion, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to be around her if she had another one. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything," she said. "Maybe I'm wrong anyway. It's only been a few days." "If you're not wrong," I said, "please don't have an abortion. Give the baby up for adoption if you guys can't raise him or her, but please don't kill the baby. Henry would probably even want to raise the baby if you can't." Her eyes grew wide at the serious tone in my voice. "Okay, I'll think about it." A tense silence fell on us as we went back to our tasks. I could think of nothing else the rest of the evening, and as I lay in bed with Henry that night, struggling to focus on our devotional, he touched my arm.
"Hey, what's the matter? You've been acting weird all day."
I sighed. "I'm not sure if I should say anything. It isn't about me, really." He picked up my hand and caressed the top.
"I'm your husband. You can tell me anything, and I promise to keep your secret."
His brown eyes seemed so sincere that I decided I could trust him, at least with part of it. "Raquel thinks she might be pregnant, and she isn't sure she's ready." His finger stopped its circling pattern on my hand.
"I see. Are you jealous because she might beat us, or is there something else?"
His voice sounded slightly off, and I glanced up at him. A hardness burned back in his eyes. I had never seen this side of him. "Are you okay?" He stared at the ceiling and took a deep breath.
"Do you remember the night you met my parents?"
"How could I forget?" I scoffed.
"Do you remember what my brother said?"
I thought back to the night a few months ago, and the image replayed in my head. Suddenly, I remembered I had wanted to ask him what that was about, but I'd gotten so busy that I'd forgotten. Then my mind jumped to the wedding, and Anthony telling me about their sister. I had no idea if I was right, but suddenly I was sure the conversation had had something to do with her. "What happened to Camilla?" I asked. Henry's head snapped my direction. His eyes widened and filled with questions. "Anthony mentioned her at the wedding. He didn't know I didn't know." He sighed and rubbed his forehead.
"I should have told you a long time ago, but I guess I was ashamed."
"Of your sister dying?" I asked. He shook his head.
"Of the way she died."
He took a deep breath.
5 years ago, my sister, who was a lot like my mom if you get my meaning, had too much to drink at a college party and ended up getting pregnant. I don't know if she wanted an abortion, but my mom convinced her to have one. For a while, everything seemed okay, but then one night I went to surprise her with a pizza and...
His voice faltered as tears fell from his face. I squeezed his hand and waited. He wiped the tears and continued.
I got to her room and found her in bed. An empty bottle of pills lay on her nightstand. I called the ambulance and they rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late.
He ran a hand over his face.
When I went back to the dorm room to help pack up her stuff, I found the note she had written under her bed. She took the pills because she was so depressed from the abortion. We never even knew.
My heart fell as I thought about my own past. I could never tell Henry the full truth now. He would hate me forever.
My mother refused to believe she was depressed over the abortion. She even accused me of forging it, and that's when I knew I had to get out of there. I moved out the very next day. In fact, I hadn't seen my mother face to face until she showed up for the wedding.
Oh, Henry, I'm so sorry. And I don't want Raquel to make the same mistake, but what can we do?
We can pray,
he said, and he grabbed both of my hands. Together we prayed for Raquel, for God's will and his wisdom, for the life of the unborn child that might be growing in her belly at the very moment, and for healing for Henry. Though our subject was heavy, both of us felt lighter after giving the worry over to God.
Now, what do you say we work on making our own baby?
He said, and I curled into him.